Thanks for being here. This episode will be in English because we have Pedro Cortés. He's a SaaS marketing consultant, so he will share a little bit about his business and his expertise and some tips that he will share. So, welcome, Pedro. How are you?
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to try to dropping some valuable based on your questions. Just try to make it as valuable for your audience as possible.
Thank you very much. Tell us who you are and what business do you have.
Yeah. So basically, what I do is I'm a SaaS messaging consultant. So what I do is I help B2B SaaS companies explain their product better. Because as engineers they find it hard not to focus so much on the features and forget how to really sound on the page, and that's hurting them because if people really understand what kind of results that their product could deliver, then they would easily convert. They would easily get a free trial. They would easily jump on a demo because they'll see the kind of results that they could get, which is a shame for most SaaS companies, but that's what I help them fix. Because once they
Okay.
do, they'll increase the conversions fairly easily.
Yeah, like all the developers don't have like a clue in marketing, right? They just focus on their product.
Yeah, and then it's also like an ego thing, right? So sometimes what they do is they explain what they think is good about their product, not what other people want to hear from it. And because you work on it for so long, then it's even if you try, it's kind of hard to move away from that bias.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. Have you consulted companies that they are solving one product and they have the SaaS built already and it's not a good solution or not a problem in the market?
Yeah, so whenever I onboard a client, so what I do is they just book a free consultation on my website, and what I do in that consultation is I'll try to assess what kind of problems they're solving, why is their product better, and so on, and if they're solving like a big problem. And the reason I know they're solving a big problem is if they're charging a lot of money for it, because usually B2B SaaS companies are doing it, and my minimum is around $7,200 a month. Because if people are already paying that, then it means it's solving a big problem. So that gets it out of the way. And the second thing is I want to understand if this is really better than some of the solutions on the market. Because if there isn't an advantage, then there's nothing for me that I can sell on the page as in terms of saying why is this better? Because in reality, it's not better. So I can only help companies that already built a really good product, and usually that does happen because engineers focus a lot on their products and they make it so good. They focus a lot on the support and they end up building some really good products, but then they kind of forget about the marketing. So it's kind of good for both of us. It's that's the perfect fit that I look for.
How much do they charge like a big, well, not a big, your clients, like $100 per month and up?
Yeah, and up. Some companies might charge, uh, $1,000, $2,000 a year. Some might charge 5 or 10, and probably the most that I've gotten is probably around 50, uh, without those very long sales cycles. Is probably the maximum was 50 grand. That it wasn't 100% enterprise.
Okay, okay. So to tell the audience a little bit about you, where are you from? From what city?
Yeah, I'm basically from Porto, Portugal.
Okay, great. How is Porto? Does it has a beach or something?
Yeah, it does have a beach. Um, and yeah, it's fairly fine, fairly quiet. Um, and yeah, now Portugal also has a startup scene, but it's more on in Lisbon, and Porto is the second biggest city. A lot of companies are coming here as well, not because of the startup scene is like magic and the Portuguese are geniuses, just because you don't pay taxes for 10 years if you're a foreigner.
Wow.
So that's the main reason. So maybe you should
That's
come here and I'll pay the taxes for you.
wow. That's only the
Because I'll pay
citizens.
50% tax and other people don't have to pay for 10 years. It's not fair,
Wow.
but it is what it is.
Yeah, I have heard that Puerto Rico is like in the US or part of the US is 4% or something, but it's very hard to. Well, you need the requirements, but I never heard that about Portugal. Interesting. So I have a question. Why did you focus it on the SaaS industry? What captured your attention? What led you to that industry?
Yeah, I mean, I always had some sort of interest in software, just because it was that thing that is pretty much infinitely scalable, right? So you're selling something, and 100 people could use it, 1,000 people could use it, 100,000 people could use it, and you could just focus on selling that product. And I just like the business model, right? And then slowly I just look at these companies and some of the products that I was using, or maybe the products that I knew how they worked. I just noticed that their landing pages, I mean, don't really match what they do, or they, even if they match what they do, they don't explain why they're better than other solutions and make it a pain in the ass for the visitors. So, for example, I was actually doing a landing page breakdown as a post on LinkedIn about Dropbox Business and how it helps teams manage their files and so on. And their page was so bad that I had no idea why that was better than Google Drive. I already paid for Google Drive, so I wouldn't use it. But imagining that I was looking for a solution, I would just use Google Drive, because I don't know why Dropbox would be better than Google Drive, because they don't tell me at all. They just say this is what you need to have all your files in one place. And like, I already know what Dropbox is. You don't need to sell me that. I know what cloud storage is. Just tell me why is this better than Google Drive. And they are not self-aware enough to understand that those are the questions that people have. They didn't answer my question, so I didn't convert. Neither did hundreds of thousands of people, probably.
Yeah, like you also made a review about the MailChimp.com landing page, right?
Yeah, that's
That it was very bad.
yeah. They always screw it up. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So you dedicate your business life, or you're a consultant, and landing pages and messages of landing pages. And tell us more about the importance of these elements in a SaaS business.
Yeah, because actually, whenever someone is buying a SaaS product, is a bigger decision than you might think. One, because when it's B2B and the product is expensive and the problem is big, it's likely that the change is also big. So, for example, if you're selling a very good CRM,
Mm-hmm.
it's likely that people have to change their sales process. And that's more painful than the cost itself, right? So you need to really overcome that resistance if you want them to become a customer. And that's something that you're doing with messaging. And the way you really need to think about messaging is a salesman on your page. If you have someone on your demos that is really good at selling and really good at explaining, how the product is a really good solution and why that product is really good, then you'll close most of your demos. You'll close a ton of deals. But if you have someone that doesn't really understand your product, doesn't communicate it properly, or doesn't tailor their explanation to that person on a call, or know how to answer their objections, they're not going to close that many deals. But the product is the same. It just has very, very different results. So that's the importance. And the big problem with SaaS companies is they're fighting with two really big things. So one, they're fighting with the current solution that the company is using. So let's say for a CRM, they might be using either an off-the-shelf generic CRM, or they might be using a spreadsheet. They're used to the spreadsheets. It's comfortable. It's cheap. That's at least what they have in their mind. So they need to overcome. They need to show that the product is 10x better and the results that they can get is 10x better. But then once they realize that they need something new, there's another pole that they need to overcome, which is, now that I know that I need something else, and let's face it, people will look, throughout the internet and try to compare solutions. The other poll that you need to answer is, why is this the best decision for me? Why is this the best product for me? And that's an example. For example, MailChimp also didn't answer that. So MailChimp actually has a really good offer because they have a free plan and the product is really easy to use. So for non-technical people, this is actually really good. They don't even show the product. They don't even show how good it is. They don't even show that the company is there for 10 years and they have thousands of employees. They don't mention anything about that. So if I was looking for an email marketing tool, which I actually am, I wouldn't even use MailChimp because I don't know why is it for me. And yeah, it's still lacking a ton of stuff. So I'll probably just use ConvertKit or something because they're actually the ones that explain it better. Even if it's not the best thing, for me, it seems like it will be the best thing. So that's what I'll buy. And that's what everyone does.
And like, to explain the messaging between MailChimp and ConvertKit, one is like for all the businesses in the world without targeting a niche, and ConvertKit is like for bloggers, or their targeting is that, so it's better, or it resonates better with that market, right?
Yeah, MailChimp is for small non-technical businesses, but they don't communicate that. So they do have positioning, but because they don't explain it better, it's kind of useless, their positioning. But ConvertKit really has their stuff together. They know how to do it. They could improve a few things, but they're doing it well. And one thing that they're offering is they're helping with the setup. So that pain of using the current tool, so let's say they're using MailChimp, that pain of moving from one tool to another, they understand that there's a ton of resistance there. So they created some done-for-you setups where you just hire their team, they'll do it for you, and you'll get that pain out. So they understand that. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they stole the hosting plan migration, right? Like with a hosting company, if you switch or whatever, HostMonster or whatever, HostGator, and you switch to them, they pass all the files to the new server.
Yeah, it's maybe they got versions of that.
Yeah, it's easier from an email marketing. It's just a spreadsheet with the emails, but they do it. It's a big help. Did you advise SaaS companies to do that also as a consultant, like to do done-for-you services?
Not really. What I do advise is you wanna think about what are the steps for your customers. This is what you put at the end of the page when you want to make the call to action really clear, and on what the steps are and why there isn't that much risk or there isn't any risk. You want to remind them of that. And what you want to do is that's what I have in my process, is we want to make a list of the steps that they need to take to become a customer and to get the result that they want. So for example, they might need to sign up, they might need to learn about that tool, they might need to import their data, and they might need to teach their team how to do it, right? Then you create another list based on the first list and say, how am I making this really easy? So for example, when you sign up for the tool, it's easy because there's a free trial. When you try to learn about the tool, it's easy because we have tons of tutorials. For example, we might have like a webinar every week on how to do X thing, and for example, whenever you're trying to teach your team how to use it, maybe they offer training, maybe they offer 3 hours of training for their team. That's also common for bigger plans or companies that charge more money. And yeah, just how are you making it easier? For example, the support could be another way on how you're making it easier. And you just communicate that, because most of the time they're already doing it, but they're not communicating it at all.
Okay, I understand. Yes. Well, I will ask you that question later. So, what SaaS do you use in your business every day, like for your operation, for your like, do you use WordPress for your site, or what other things do you use?
Yeah, what I use every day is I use Calendly every day. I use Zoom every day. I use Notion every day,
Mm.
and I also use Webflow for my website every day.
What was that? The last one?
Uh, I use Webflow for my website
Ah,
because
Webflow.
they're like way better. They also know really know what they're doing. The messaging could be better, but their marketing online is so good in terms of the tutorials and in terms of the influencer marketing that they do, that the traffic that they get already kind of knows what it does. So it kind of compensates
Yes.
for the better work that they're doing and
Mm,
the no
and
code movements that it's been going on because designers are
yes,
promoting this like crazy because they want to be independent. So the designers are promoting this more to their teams.
yes. Did you design it your website with
Yeah, I
Webflow?
designed everything. Yeah,
Okay,
because I also
that's
used to be a
interesting.
designer, so it's fairly easy.
Oh, okay, yes. I have seen that you use uh, design tools
Yeah,
in your website. What is your website?
is www.cortes.design.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that no code movement. There are various like Webflow, Bubble, and Parabola, and other tools. What do you think about that SaaS industry that is interesting for us, not non-coders, for example?
Yeah, I think that's really good. In terms of marketing, is really good as well because you kind of ride the wave. Whenever that movement becomes more popular, and the reason why it's becoming more popular because designers want to become more independent. It's better for startups because they can hire a designer, and now that designer becomes the front end developer if they know how to use Webflow. Um, at least for the website. Um, and yeah, like basically it's easy for people to promote it internally because there are already communities around it and they just ride the wave. Another example could be the productivity apps. If you really think about it, there are millions of productivity apps, but there's only a few of them that they are actually very successful. And if you notice, is they secretly followed a movement as well. So if you look at Todoists, they follow the GTD method. So if you want the getting things done method, which is
Yes.
a best-selling book that has millions of books, the only tool that you can use is Todoist, and they know that. So they design based on getting things done. If you want to use getting things done framework, use Todoist. If you want to use that Japanese thing about the tasks, use Trello.
The
And
Kanban, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Use Trello. And that's why Trello is so successful because the movement was already successful and they built a tool to make it easier. While other productivity tools made up their own process and people had to follow their process instead of following what they wanted to use or what they read about and already think it's good.
Yes, there's like in that example, there's a book called Profit First. I don't know if you have heard it, but it's basically says like you have a main account and then you disburse a percentage to profit, the profit first, then to taxes and
That's a book,
to
so maybe
so
it's
yeah,
it's
that's a
related.
book. So yeah, but it advises you to open various bank accounts and stuff. That is very painful. Maybe a bank or a neobank does that very easily and automatically and can work, like you're saying, right? Um,
Yeah.
have you had clients for landing page and messaging that are built with no code tools?
Uh, yeah, I did. Some clients use like Unbounce for PPC landing pages. Some clients use Webflow. I just usually just recommend Webflow because um, yeah, because it's just easier and it's super scalable. It's really fast. Price, I think it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I personally haven't used Webflow, but because I was using Elementor in WordPress, but
Hmm.
I am going to check out Webflow because a lot of designers are like, I create my design in Photoshop and I put it in Webflow and it's like exactly the same, and I can charge, if they do that service they can charge much more because Webflow is very, translates the design very easily, right?
Yeah, and that's another thing that they did with their marketing is they helped people sell those packages, and they
Yeah.
hired a few influencers to say how you can sell more expensive services by developing the website as well. And then the solution was Webflow, right? So everyone went, and that's part of their marketing as well because they know what they're doing. They know who uses their stuff. They know who refers all of their products.
That's interesting. Maybe I got that from them, that idea. Or
Yeah, probably.
and where do you learn, and who are your mentors in internet marketing?
Yeah, so when I started to become interested in seeing how I can help companies, increase their conversions and explain their product better and see how I can help them, I browsed around and started reading articles out there and so on. And I mean, because I really like psychology and like to study psychology on the side, just because it just one makes you aware of your own biases, makes you more aware of the relationships that you're having. I think it's essential to study that stuff, and it also makes you better at sales and copywriting and so on. So whenever I was looking at that based on what I already learned in psychology just as a hobby, I was looking at their best practices, and they were just complete bullshit because they would defy every single psychology rule that there was out there, right? And then I would say there must be a better way. There must be people that really know their stuff and they make it work every time. And after like a few months of research, I realized that the smartest guys were the direct response copywriters from the 70s and the 80s. Because when you're doing direct response, you are sending letters uh, in the mail with advertising, and you're sending thousands and thousands of letters, and that could cost, I don't know, that could cost 100 grand in upfront costs. Like there is no way to get around that upfront cost. If you don't make that campaign successful, you go out of business.
Yeah.
So that's why they had to get really good at making it work every single time, because if they failed, they would go out of business. So they would have all of these formulas. They would know how to sell every single time between all of these different niches. And because they knew how to do it, I had to figure out how they were doing it. I spent like a few years studying them, reading all of the books from Dan Kennedy, Gary Albert, David Ogilvy. Ogilvy is not the one that I like the most. I like everything from Dan Kennedy is amazing. I think that he's the one that is responsible for all the internet marketing stuff, even though he's older. Um, and I ignored everything else. Then I just created my formulas for SaaS, apply all of the stuff that they mentioned, created my own thing for SaaS. And once I did, it went from having good results to having amazing results super consistently and doing it in way less time.
Yeah, Dan Kennedy is the master. I followed Frank Kern, but Frank Kern
Yeah,
copied
it's a
or took,
mentee.
yeah,
It's
took
no, it's
everything.
Dan Kennedy is mentor since he was like 25 or something. I researched
Yes,
that.
yes, that's very interesting. And what caught your attention about internet marketing? Do you felt it was like scammy, some coaches, or you focused on the direct response guys mainly?
In terms of learning this,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I focused on the direct response guys. because they're the guys, really making it work, and they were like, uh, they had like proven track record and so on. Um, and yeah, I just ignore everything else because if someone was saying something that is similar, like what they're teaching are timeless principles. So it doesn't matter if it is pre-internet or post-internet or in 2020 or in 2010, doesn't matter, because there's a principle on how you can sell people. The medium might change, so they might used to do ads in letters, and now they do ads in Facebook. Doesn't matter. The principles are the same, but
Yes.
the medium changed. So it's irrelevant. So I just compare if the new coaches talk about the old principles and adapt it to the new medium.
So, do you consider yourself a copywriter?
Yeah, I am a copywriter. I just don't say I'm a copywriter because one principle of copywriting is you uh, explain your stuff in the language of your own customers. And for some reason, I don't really care why, but for some reason, SaaS founders think that a copywriter writes articles. And instead of trying to be all smart and say that I'm a copywriter and that I show them my process and so on, I just come up with my own positioning and just don't talk about it and deliver the result, and it doesn't matter what I am. I give you the result, it doesn't matter. And I don't write articles, just
Yeah,
to be clear.
exactly. Yeah, because to explain the audience, like in the sales letters, like in the beginning, well, when I was starting in internet marketing and online businesses, there were huge websites that needed to be scrolling. Like the scroll button was like very little because of the length of the page, and it explained like all the benefits in text. Now it evolved into video, all that text into a presentation like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and now
Yeah.
into maybe you do this like short landing pages but with a lot of design and data concisely, right? Do you do very big sales letters or no?
Yeah, I don't really focus on the length. I just focus on, I basically just follow my own formula because I know if I hit on every single section and I can't really skip through any of them,
Mm.
that I'll help the visitor go through the process of understanding the info that they need in order to make a decision at the end of am I going to convert or not, or is this the right time or not? And what those sections consist of is one is the intro, where we show them how they can get the result without the usual problem that they have. So for example, here's how you can get a really good CRM without having to change your sales process. Here's how you can get better conversions without having another analytics tool, whatever it is. We're going to mention that to create curiosity.
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk about the problems with their current solution, so they are reminded of how painful it is to use. So they think, okay, I really need to change this, right? And then we're going to mention the problems with other solutions on the market. Because when you mention the problems with the other solutions, you're automatically showing them your unique selling points. And you're already saying that, okay, you have this problem, and if you try to fix this problem with other solutions that weren't designed for that problem, then it's not going to work. And then the solution part is the inverted part of the problem. And you can, this will make more sense if you go to Cortes.design/cheat and you actually look at it. But when you go to the solution, you show how you can fix all those problems in 3 to 5 steps so they can get the result that they want. And once they see that they can use your product to get the result that they want, on a high level preview, they'll trust that they can actually get it, and that your product is the vehicle to get them to the result that they want. Then they'll be way more likely to convert. Then just show them some social proof showing, okay, other people like you already got this result, and then you show them that call to action saying that there's no risk and try to minimize the commitments and tell them what the next step is.
Yes, the call to action is just like go here and do this and
Yeah.
click the button, and they are like in sales letters. They were steps like what you are outlining in the when does this started the direct response 70 or 60s, something like that.
It's hard to say because it's something that people would do in the 1900s with
Oh yeah, I remember.
with posters and stuff like that. So it's very hard to say. I wouldn't really care. It's like when was the car invented? Some people would say that Carl Benz invented the car. So other people would say that the electric car came first. Like I don't really care. It's doesn't matter too much. It matters that we now have cars, and for some reason they still pollute our environments.
Yeah, exactly. So what was the most proud client success story you can share with us, like the good
Um,
result?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, whenever a client gets, just follows the process and implements some stuff exactly how we worked on and so on. Um, they get really good results, and I'm always happy to see what happens. Sometimes I get even surprised about how good the results are. So, for example, one client was spending had like an ad budget for Facebook ads, and that's all the traffic that they had because it was a recent company. Because previously they were just selling with the referrals, so they didn't need a website, and they were still doing good money out of it. So they were just wasting money on ads like crazy, right? And once they sold the results instead of selling the medium, they started getting way better results because previously they would say use text messages to recover more cards. So you can basically recover more revenue when someone goes to your checkout process and doesn't finish it. So they were saying use text messages, and people look at that and say I already use email and it's automated, so I don't need it. So no one would convert. And what I did is I showed them the results. Is instead of converting 7%, they would convert 20 because they were getting 20% conversion rates on recovered cards super consistently. I showed them how that was possible, answered their objections, and they went from basically no demos to 5 demos a day, and they couldn't get any more demos. I also was super proud of Barometrics Recover because we actually did like a challenge where we would rewrite, like we'll figure out the problems for the audience, we'll figure out the objections for the audience, something that I don't do in such a short period of time, just because I want to take my time and do it better with my clients. But we did it as a challenge and do it in like 90 minutes on a webinar, and we did, and it's like it's doing way better because now it's an irresistible offer. Instead of saying you're going to use these emails to recover the revenue from failed payments, now it says you're losing 9% of your MRR due to failed payments. Here's how this add-on on your Barometrics account will fix all of this in like 1 hour. You'll probably pay $200 a month for it, but it doesn't matter because if you get a negative ROI, you'll get a month free. And the average ROI that people get on their plan is 38 times the what they pay for, and we show results for that. And then you'll see I'll make an extra $5,000 a month. It'll take me 10 minutes, so I don't need to read anything else. So that made a huge difference as well.
Can you explain to the Spanish-speaking market what is barometrics recovery? Is like automated, like if the credit card expires or something,
Yeah.
they get
So
an automation.
yeah. So basically, a good part of churn is whenever the credit card expires, or they have insufficient funds, or some miscellaneous bugs that happen in the payments. And it's kind of hard. It's not exactly hard, but it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to create a paywall. So whenever that they stop paying, they'll stop getting access to the products, because sometimes they don't build the product around that, and it's more complicated to fix that code. And with parametrics recovers like one line of code, and you can read it easily right away. There's no way to remind your customers that like your credit card will expire in 10 days. And there's also no other way of creating a page where you can renew your credit card details. And you can also have it as a white label, so it would show your logo and so on, but you would use Barometrics backend.
Yes.
And because of that, they'll recover the 9% of revenue that you were losing. So if you're making 100K a month, you're probably losing 10K due to failed payments.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. And it's easy to fix. Takes you one line of code and 10 minutes.
Very, very cool. So
Very
switching,
enticing.
yeah, exactly. So to switch up gears of the interview and last questions is, other than helping SaaS companies, what is your other passions in life? Your hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, I just like, yeah, I really like the marketing and the psychology side. So business is obviously a big part of life. And I really enjoy, helping people, achieving their success. And on the side, I just ride my longboard and my skateboard around. And I just like cars a lot, and that's about it. I'm a simple guy.
Very good.
Unfortunately, the cars are very expensive, or the ones that I like are not sold here. So
Yeah, a Tesla
that
or
sucks.
something like that, right?
Yeah, for some reason, Teslas weren't sold officially up until a couple of years ago. They were sold next to electric bikes on some random stores throughout the country. And you have like thousands of them. I don't know how they sell so many. But on the other hand, if I want to buy a 370Z, which is a simple sports car, they don't sell them here. Like, the fuck? And when they do, it costs twice as much. Instead of costing 30 grand, it costs 70 grand. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's yeah. Also here in Mexico, it's like 2 3 years ago, Tesla started to get sold, but there are not a lot, but slowly.
Oh, here there are like thousands, and they cost a shit ton of money. So the Model 3
Yes,
costs 30, begins at 30K, $30,000
yes.
in the US. Right here, it begins at 67,000 euros, which is $75,000. And you see them everywhere, like everywhere.
Well, maybe they are foreign people that don't pay taxes.
Probably.
Where can we find you to see your articles, your videos,
Yeah,
your social media?
you can search for my name on LinkedIn, and I'll post there like around 4 times a week. Tons of valuable videos there. You can also find me at www.Cortes.design. I have a bunch of articles there. I have like a few case studies here as well. And the main thing that people like about my stuff is the landing page cheat sheet, because I actually have the formula that I use with all my clients, available for free. And the reason why I do it is, one, to show that it's a very clear process, and because it's not about the formula and what the sections are, is how well you identify the objections and the results and the problems that people care about, and then you put them on a page. So it's 90% identifying them and 10% putting them on a page. So you can put them on the page, you can put the wrong things on a page, and you can use my formula. But the real thing is identifying them properly. So that's why,
Okay.
and people got really good results from doing it themselves. Like I had a couple of people getting really good results. So it's still surprising. But yeah, that's the two pillars: explaining it really well on a page, but first identifying, the things people already actually care about. And I have a bunch of info about that as well.
I am curious. All this like content creation you do in your page and in LinkedIn creates like traffic to your site, gets you demos and strategy sessions.
Yeah, so they are designed for that. Even the posts, they are also follow exactly the same formula. And the secret is I always talk about the programs, because when I talk about programs, I attract people that have those programs. And because I explain the programs better than they can explain it themselves, they believe that I have the solution. Then I tell them how to fix it during the video, and then I give them the next step, which is book a call with me. And if you
Yes.
see, it's the same thing as my landing page formula, because the principle is always the same. And it works really well. Like I post 4 videos a week, and I get 20 to 25 calls a month for people that want to become clients. And I'll assess which ones are a good fit and which ones are not. Probably 80% are a good fit. And then from the ones that are a good fit, I work with, due to my current capacity, I work with about 4,
Okay. That's
because I
very
only work with the
interesting.
best ones. Yep.
Yeah, and you charge like what your retainer like you don't, maybe some clients don't have that amount and they don't qualify and stuff like that.
Yeah, it depends. It also is related to that question of, um, do you really have a product that is better than others? Because if you don't have that advantage, then there's nothing for me to help you sell on the page, because
Yeah,
you're not actually better.
and it's an easier job for you to work with the best, right?
Yeah, because then it just makes everything easier. It makes it easier for me to give them the results. It makes it easier for them because they get the result really fast. Doesn't take any that much work at all, and it's very rewarding for them because they focus so much time creating this product, and people don't understand it, and it's very frustrating when they feel that.
Okay, Pedro, thanks a lot for this interview. I will let you know when it's ready and for you to review it, to see it, to share it, or whatever. Thanks a lot, and nice to meet you. And do you want to say something to the Latin American market, to the Latin American SaaS market?
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot for having me. And I mean, uh, one really good way to get startups to Latin America is if you make your country not pay taxes for the foreigners. So that works. Try that out.
That's a good tip. Thanks a lot, Pedro, and see you in LinkedIn and in messages.
Awesome, man. Best of luck with the podcast. See you then.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.